Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I did not come into this House with any intention on speaking on this bill. But earlier, I mentioned the word young, Mr. Speaker, and the member for Denry North found it necessary at the time to say, I do not know if he Jed or Ched. So, Mr. Speaker, I felt compelled, being the youngest parliamentarian in this honorable House, to stand and offer my support to this youth economy bill. And Mr. Speaker, I listened to the Prime Minister in his presentation, the member for Castries East, and I really reflected on my own life and on my own self growing up as a young man. And I sat there in the chair and I imagined the possibilities that I could have benefited from if during my time, 10 years ago or 12 years ago, there was a youth economy that was built. And I know that the member for Choiseul said that there are other agencies who do similar or who provide similar support. But to have a youth economy, Mr. Speaker, just by the very name, Mr. Speaker, I think that it encourages young people to know that you have somewhere that you can call yours. It is youth specific, it is youth driven, and I think the Prime Minister said that even the configuration of the office will be one whereby we have young people who understand the plight of other young people, doing the representation on their behalf and assisting and doing the works, the administrative works at the office. And Mr. Speaker, I remember during the election campaign, quite a few people looked up to me, quite a few young people came and they asked me questions. What is your government going to do? If you all win the election, what are you all going to do about young people? And at the time, Mr. Speaker, I did not have a comprehensive understanding of what the youth economy was. But just by the name, the very name, Mr. Speaker, I was in a position to be able to sell that to young people. And having seen the bill, Mr. Speaker, now I'm even more excited, I'm even in a better position to tell people like Oshun, Mr. Speaker, that there is a real opportunity for her. Not everyone, Mr. Speaker. I remember when I left school, not every one of us will have the same opportunities. Not all of us here have the backup. And I think one of the things that is even more exciting about the bill is that the persons behind the bill, or the other parliamentarians like ourselves, they understand what it is not to have backup. They understand what it is to grow up and not to have somebody behind you with a nene or a power, or not to carry a certain surname, Mr. Speaker. And for it to be denied an opportunity because you don't have the necessary backing. That is a problem that is going to be eliminated by this bill, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, as I said, I remember when I left school in 2009, Mr. Speaker. So long ago. Yes, Mr. Speaker, when I left school in 2009, I remember coming from fresh out of Safa, and because my mother was not, or she did not have a prominent surname, I grew up more or less without the support of a father or father figure in my life. Mr. Speaker, I found it very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. And today, earlier, I made a presentation on the firearms bill and some of the things that can lead to young people going astray. And Mr. Speaker, when I think of myself, I could have gone astray at any given time, during the time that I left school and during the time that I became a police officer. Because there were times when I was hopeless, because I felt like I did well at school, and persons who did not perform as well as I did, I saw them working in the banks and working various places, Mr. Speaker. And not because of merit, and I think all of us can attest to the fact that some of us find ourselves in positions not because of merit, but because of, as the Prime Minister used the word, who we have behind us, or who we know. Now, Mr. Speaker, I remember there were several things that I wanted to do. I had all the bright ideas in my mind at that time. However, there was not really an avenue where I could have gone, or there was an agency that I could have gone to at the time that would have given me an opportunity or would have given me seed capital. And seed capital is very, very important for a young person just coming out of school. You have not worked anywhere, Mr. Speaker. You don't have any money saved in the bank, especially, as I said, those of us without the backer. You have not worked anywhere, and you don't have any money to go. And you may have all the bright ideas, and without the seed capital, there's very little to nothing that you can do as it relates to exploring or developing whatever potentials that you may have, the hobbies, the skills. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill. I'm very happy that today we are passing this bill in this honorable house. And I say that because I have right here in my community and my constituency, I want to encourage persons like Peter Noel, who have gone into the business of agro-processing. And now they produce banana flour, cassava flour, just name it, breadfruit flour, sea moss powder, sea moss capsules. And they've been struggling, Mr. Speaker, because of how expensive it is to be able to buy equipment, to be able to buy fittings for just an office. And with this bill, Mr. Speaker, with the passing of this bill, Peter and Noel now have, Taisha and her partner now have an opportunity to be able to bring the equipment that they require for their agro-processing, to be able to bring it here and not worry about heavy custom duties. Now they have an opportunity to bring these things here duty-free. And that is what progressive thinking is about. I mean, we have to be realistic. We have a situation where not everyone now, Mr. Speaker, or those people who we term, quote-unquote, academically inclined, we have a situation or a trend where not all these people are now interested in becoming doctors and lawyers, Mr. Speaker. Some of them are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. We have a General Bix, Mr. Speaker, and those of you remember the song, Bofe Lili, Bofe Lo, Mr. Speaker. That's from the General Bix in Mikud. And Mr. Speaker, can you imagine how far General Bix could have been with just a little push, with something from the youth economy, Mr. Speaker? We have Mahon James Mowgli, who produces, Mr. Speaker, in the community of Mikud. Right there, he produces. He has his own little studio inside his house. And several young men and women keep going to the studio and they keep recording there. And Mr. Speaker, I say, imagine this man has done so much on his own. He's a teacher. And he has done so much on his own. With a little incentive, you can think of the limitless opportunities that he can give, not just to himself as a young businessman, but to other budding entrepreneurs, to budding artists in the community. Now they have an avenue where they can go, they can record, and we can ensure that he has the proper equipment to provide proper music and to give other young people in the constituency of Mikud an opportunity. So when I think of these things, Mr. Speaker, I'm left with no choice but to support this youth economy bill. I have to support this youth economy bill. When I think of my own trials, my own struggles, Mr. Speaker, and I thank God for preserving me and ensuring that I stayed along the right path. But not all of us are so lucky. And Mr. Speaker, I see this youth economy bill working alongside the firearms, the amendments to the firearms bill, where it gives us an opportunity. This morning we said that we need a holistic approach. It's no longer just about implementing legislation to make laws stiffer for our people, but giving them an opportunity where they can go and they can explore. We have an opportunity where they can go there and they get the exposure that they need to display their skills, their hobbies, and to give them it at a very young age. And I'm very happy with the training component involved there. Even things like upskilling, Mr. Speaker, I want to support initiatives like the upskill initiative with the Taiwanese. And I think that these things, especially given the time that we're operating in, Mr. Speaker, I want to applaud the Prime Minister and the government for seeing the need to bring this bill before the House. And as much as the member for Chozel said that there are other agencies which provide similar services, Mr. Speaker, I think having a bill or having an agency that deals specifically with the young people, Mr. Speaker, that alone will attract our young people. I think that alone will allow our young people to see that the government is really interested, that we're not just talking the talk, but we're walking the walk. And that is why we made that manifesto promise. And I'm happy that today, on our first year anniversary, Mr. Speaker, that we're able to pass this bill and to give the young people in St. Lucia a real opportunity. And some may say, but what is $5,000? Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, $5,000 is a lot of money when you don't have money. $2,000 is a lot of money when you don't have money. $2,000 can save a man's life. A young man who may be going astray, may be talented in barbering. Just the fact that you give him that chair and the first set of clippers to start, Mr. Speaker, you've set the foundation for him for the rest of his life. And I refuse, Mr. Speaker, not every bill will have its deficiencies, and I accept that. But I refuse, with a bill so important, with a bill that proposes to do so much for the young people in St. Lucia, I don't think, Mr. Speaker, that we should look at deficiencies in the bill today. I think today, the general sentiment in this room should be one of support. One where we understand that our young people, all of us know all too well, Mr. Speaker, that we have a problem, even under the last administration, with youth unemployment. We understand that we have a problem with youth unemployment. There is no way that the public service can absorb the young people outside. There is no way. There is no way that we can take more teachers and more doctors. I think we've reached our quota. And when you look at the amount of people retiring vis-a-vis the amount of children leaving school, Mr. Speaker, we would always have a problem of youth unemployment. But this gives us an opportunity to change things. This creates the paradigm shift that we're looking for, where young people now get that opportunity to go there and create their own employment. And Mr. Speaker, even for community tourism, I can see this bill meshing so well with community tourism, and I know that very soon I will be seeing aspects of community tourism coming to Micoud North. And having said that, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the young people in Micoud North who are involved in the arts and the crafts, those who want to learn how to do chapeau pie, as they call them, the straw hats. Mr. Speaker, the youth economy gives these people an opportunity. And I heard the Prime Minister made mention of a young man who wanted to go to France, and he had an opportunity to go to France, and all he needed at the time was a ticket. And through the youth economy, he has an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to go there, get his ticket, and it provides him with the type of employment. He goes to France or wherever, he works or he plays football, he becomes professional, or even if he does not become professional, Mr. Speaker, his family is going to be benefiting from remittances. And you can see, Mr. Speaker, the amount of opportunities that can come from this piece of legislation that we're going to pass in this House today. And when the Prime Minister spoke about that, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you about, I have at least 20, during my tenure, my 1 year, Mr. Speaker, I have in excess of 20 of my constituents who have left St. Lucia and who have gone to the British Army to work, because they find it very difficult to get work in St. Lucia, especially given the COVID times. And we've had to provide support to these people one way or the other. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that I now have somewhere to direct these young people to go. I can send them to the youth economy, to the youth agency, Mr. Speaker, who is going to provide support for them in that regard. That is one less headache for me as a parliamentarian for Micoud North. So Mr. Speaker, I cannot find the real words to express how excited I am about this bill and about what this bill is going to do for the young people of St. Lucia. So, in closing, I just want to thank the Prime Minister and my other parliamentarian colleagues for supporting this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I want to encourage the young people, especially those young people between the Tumase Bridge and the Prale Bridge, Mr. Speaker. I want to send a very special message to them, so that they can make optimum use of this opportunity that has been afforded to them through this youth economy bill. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Prime Minister for bringing this bill to the House.